Hello, good afternoon. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto Casey, where I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol, how you may be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life like I did. Today is a beautiful Saturday here in Piedmont, North Carolina, and it's chilly, but it's beautiful and everything's good. I hope you are well. Today's topic, as I wrote with a nod to the late Yogi Berra, who said of baseball, 90% of it is half mental or something to that effect. Like 90% is physical, the other half is mental or something like that. With the ketogenic protocol, it's kind of the same thing. For those of you who don't know, the ketogenic protocol, as I learned it and have practiced it, these many now 7 years. And if you want to see not even my before photos, because I don't think there are any actually that exist of me at my heaviest, but somewhere probably photos on my blog, those were probably like 20 pounds off of my heaviest, maybe even more. I don't know. I was morbidly obese. I was perfectly round for 30 years. I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes, and I knew that that was in my future. I was 55 years old. I come from a family of people with type 2 diabetes. And so I Googled how to not take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I came across the white coat video of Dr. Eric Westman of Duke University, who I'm happy and proud now to say is a friend of mine. And the instructions were just keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day. Total carbs, not net. Net carbs just means more carbs. It's eating more carbs. If it's not on page 4, which he has now copyrighted, and you can get a link to that below, don't eat it if it's not on page 4. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. That's the protocol. As you can hear, it is not very complicated. Fatty sources of protein, some full-fat dairy if you can tolerate it, not unlimited. Some non-starchy vegetables and leafy greens, not unlimited. And don't eat if you're not hungry and stop when you're satiated. So, simple, right? Simple doesn't equal easy. Where we tend to run into our own roadblocks of our making, by the way. By the way, can you guys see and hear me? I forgot to ask. I should always do that because technology is my frenemy. Is it good? We good? I'll trust we are. Because sometimes YouTube just drops in the middle of a live stream. Anyway, where we tend to put up our own roadblocks is when we tell ourselves we can't do something, or that is too hard, or I've never been able to do that, or I can't live the rest of my life without fill in the blank. I knew that low carb worked for me since 1977 when I read the Atkins Diet Revolution, aided by Jackie Eberstein, who ran his office with him in New York, who I'm also happy to say is a friend of mine now. Life is funny. Thank you for the super chat, Darylyn. Welcome to the bacon. Oh, it's not a super chat, it's a member. She's a baconator. Thank you. That's very kind. I knew it worked. I wanted to lose a little bit of weight I'd put on in second year of college. So I lost the 13 pounds and threw the book away. And I knew throughout the rest of my life that low carb worked, but I would tell myself I can't do that. I can't give up tortilla chips for the rest of my life. Two things, tortilla chips and pizza. And so guess what? When you tell yourself you can't do something, you don't do it. Then I got to the point where I was so far down. I was so unhappy in my brain. My life is fantastic. My life has almost always been fantastic. But I was unhappy with myself. And I felt bad physically and mentally. That's a mashup of emotional and mental, which is a word that came to life. And on my Patreon group one morning, I was doing a snippet. And I was very early in the morning, and I tried to say 2 words, and they came out as one. I was so far down that I just focused on the next time I ate food, I just laid off the carbs. I said, if that's all I have to do to not have to take insulin for diabetes, that's what I'm going to do. I've been diagnosed and treated for cancer 3 times over the course of my life, starting when I was pregnant with our 3rd child as a young mother, and 2 more times. And that was scary and unpleasant. But the idea of getting diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which I felt I would have caused, and then having to take insulin for it, that was my line in the sand. So I just laid off the carbs. And all those things I thought I couldn't do, I started doing. As a matter of fact, I think this came from one of my patrons. Every couple of months, I send out hopefully inspirational cards to patrons at certain levels and up. And this person wrote, I always thought it was impossible until I did it. Hey, isn't that what we all do? Isn't that the way it goes? We think it's impossible and then we do it. We tell ourselves that we have no willpower against certain foodstuffs. My t-shirt finally decided I'm stronger than a cookie. Go keto with Casey. This is my best-selling t-shirt. You can see it at Teespring. Second best. My best one was when I used to do product fulfillment. Food is not the boss of me. And that's the great liberating thing for this. So we have to, first of all, we have to unlearn things that we took as gospel, because medicine and science and the government told us we should eat like this, the food pyramid. 60% of your calories from carbohydrate. Interestingly, grains and the product of grains, the whole swath of the country grows them. So there was political information mixed in with the advice. I mean, political forces. But anyway, so we have to unlearn some things that we thought were true. Many people are surprised that on the ketogenic protocol, as I follow it, vegetables are not free food. You know, lots of programs are just general say, oh, eat all the vegetables you want. You can't overeat vegetables. Well, I could, if my goal, I would be overeating them if my goal is to keep my carbs 20 grams or fewer a day, total not net. Because the balance, the bulk of my carbohydrate would come from vegetables. I don't eat that many vegetables now. I do sometimes, but it's rare. Carbohydrate, vegetable, is not an essential macronutrient. We don't have to eat it for our bodies to function perfectly well. Fat and protein, yes, essential, because our bodies require the amino acids that are in both fat and protein in order for our cells to live and replicate and repair themselves and all that stuff. So we have to unlearn. For some of us, it's a leap of faith. What? I'm not going to be eating fruit? Fruit is good for us. No, fruit is actually sugar. You know, fruit 150 years ago was a treat for most of the world. If you live in the tropics and it grows on the trees, that's one thing. But for most of the world that doesn't live in the tropics, fruit was a treat because it doesn't grow natively and it had to be shipped. And, you know, kids back in Victorian times, it was a big deal. They'd get an orange at Christmas time. Fruit is sugar, very high in carbohydrate. So we have to unlearn. We have to quit telling ourselves what we can't do. We have to have some faith. And a lot of this is mental. We really have to change our way of thinking. And for some of us, it is like riding a ship, like a big cruise liner. We were going to have the Go Keto with Casey cruise with Dr. Westman and Amy Berger and Jackie Eberstein and her wonderful husband, Conrad Eberstein. And y'all, another time. Anyway, if you've ever been on a cruise ship, some places they turn them around. That takes a lot of effort. So for some of us, changing our thinking is like that. It's just like, okay, now we're doing the diametrically opposed thing that we grew up thinking we're supposed to do, that we were taught to do. And then the other half, yes, I know, 50%, 90%, or more than 100% is kind of the joke. The other half is habit. We might change our way of thinking. We might accept the fact that we don't need to eat fruit, nor should we necessarily eat fruit, that we don't require carbohydrate to function, and all that stuff. We may accept that. Then we have to start acting on it. And sometimes we have to become unhabituated to the way we eat. I have said many times of the tenets of this: keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day, total not net. If it's not on page 4, don't eat it. Don't eat it if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. Number 3 is almost always where people with whom I work and talk, and my own experience, that's where it can get a little really challenging, because we eat habitually. We've been told eat 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, or else you're going to put your body into starvation mode. Wrong. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Princess Ninja and Keto, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for such a great contribution to our community. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. It means a lot. I really do appreciate that. You have no idea. What was I saying? Oh, you know who said breakfast is the most important meal of the day? Dr. Kellogg. Seriously. If you want to see a weird thing, watch the movie The Road to Wellville with several great actors. And it's based on a true story. And it was pretty weird. It's about Dr. Kellogg and his institute up in Battle Creek. I think Battle Creek. So, you don't have to eat first thing upon rising. If you're burning fat for fuel, assuming you still have fat on your body when you rise, you're okay. I mean, you might be, I wake up peckish almost every day. Peckish means I could eat, but it's not like, oh, get me. Actually, I don't have that anymore. I don't have the get me some food. When I was a sugar burner, our brains would tell us to get more carbohydrate for the glucose because we were burning glucose. And our brains still do burn glucose, even if we are zero carb and eat in and all that, because our body can make the amount of glucose required for functions through gluconeogenesis. We don't need to worry about it. So we have to remember, am I eating out of habit or hunger? And you know what? Somebody else said in our Patreon group, I have to figure out when I'm eating whether I'm hungry or I'm bored. And I thought about that a second. I said, if you have to ask the question, you're not hungry. This morning, my husband, every day, he offers me, we come down, he's usually down a little bit before and we have our little morning ballet dealing with the animals, and I turn on the lights and he gets his stuff and he starts mixing our coffee and he gets babe, would you like some breakfast? And I was like, let the dog out. I'm thinking, dog goes out. And I realized, if I have to think about whether I want breakfast, no, I don't. I don't need it. But we are habituated to certain things. Push the peckishness. I'm going to give a quick salute to patrons, some of whom I know are here. Twyla. I have a private support group on Patreon, and through whatever your pledge level is, you're entitled to, you get to see 20 old school recorded videos. Make sure it's not my husband. It is not. A month that I record in my kitchen before coffee, and patrons suggest the topics. I have a Google spreadsheet set up and they type in topics because I've done like over 800 of them now. So I'm running, I need somebody to tell me what they want to hear. So 20 of those a month, a few patron-only live streams like this, except on Crowdcast, a few patron-only video group sessions on Zoom, and one-on-one sessions with me, and occasionally on select items, discount for Go Keto with Casey swag. Okay, thank you, patrons. Michelle V. That talk that Gary Fettke gave about the origins and nutrition guidelines was fascinating. It really is fascinating. And his wife, Belinda, is like on a crusade to uncover, and this is mostly impacts Australia as far as their food and nutrition, but it is very interesting. Just listen to some lectures by the Fetkes. You have to lean in like this with Gary Fettke. He's a very low, very soft talker. Debbie Doctor writes, I'm learning to ignore my growling stomach and only eat when I'm hungry. I also take a break mid-meal and let it get to my tummy before eating more. This is key. So first of all, rumbling tummy, it's not hunger, it's a circadian rhythm. It's essentially, and if you start paying attention to it, you say, my stomach's rumbling, I must be hungry. But no, what it's doing is, by the way, you usually eat every day starting at 10:32. Reminder, you let it go for 5 minutes, it goes away. It doesn't get worse. If it got worse and worse and worse, then that would be hunger. But no, it passes. My tummy just rumbled. Second thing is, our friend Helena in the group instituted the mid-meal break rather. She just started, because we tend to serve ourselves more than we need. We eat more than we need. I think last week's live stream was kind of like that. We just eat too much food. As a culture, servings have gotten humongous. It's like we're all cone heads eating vast quantities. We don't need them. And we need less fuel as we age and as we lose weight. That makes sense. So Helena started trying to get a gauge on, okay, I serve myself this much, which seems right. I'm going to take a break, put down utensils, go through a load of laundry in, or check your email, or look out the window for a few minutes. 5 minutes. Come back to it and you go, you know what? I don't want the rest of this. So what does that tell you? And the other thing about that is slow down. You know, for one thing, it's not attractive to shovel food in one's mouth. It's just not. Yuck. But there is a hormone called leptin. It's the satiety hormone. And it takes a while for that hormone to reach the brain to say you've had enough. It doesn't take hours. It takes a few minutes, though. Let's say, for argument's sake, it takes 10 minutes for that hormone signal to reach. You've had enough. But you've eaten your meal in 8 minutes. And you might have eaten twice as much as you needed, or 30% more, whatever. Slow down. Savor, gives you a chance to savor your food. Serve yourself less. Realize that it's okay to leave food on the plate. Give it to your dog, pack it away for another time. If you have chickens like we do, give it to the chickens. Oh, by the way, patrons, the chickens are back. They're not all of them laying, but production is back up. Hallelujah. In wintertime, with the shortened sunlight hours, egg production always goes down. Plus, several of them are molting. I do want to give a little, speaking of swag, this is a 10-second thing. The last of the 2021 Go Keto with Casey calendars, a spiral-bound version of my logbook that I made. It was really just fun to do. Is at my blog. A less expensive version of the same book, perfect bound, is available at Amazon. And also you're going to get it faster if you get it from Amazon, because Amazon. And otherwise, I'm sending it out and it just takes longer with media mail and all that, plus the postal service is swamped. And there are other things like food is not the boss of me, pop sockets and grocery bags. So I'm not saying, I changed my blog up just a little bit. I added a My Schedule tab, just because I think some of you want to know when things like the Durham Support Group meeting online with Dr. Westman and me are coming up there monthly, and Wednesday wine days with Amy Berger and me, live streams. So I've gone ahead and some other things that are on my schedule, not my personal stuff, like, when I'm getting a haircut, but other things are on my blog. It looks a little different. I'd like the feedback, by the way. All right, let's get to comments. I really appreciate you guys talking to each other and to me. Mrs. Tabby, 1963. Michelle V. It has been incredible how Belinda, Gary's wife, has spent years researching why her husband was canceled for speaking out about dietary advice. That is awful. And it seems much worse in South Africa and Australia. I mean, I won't go into it. They can explain it very well, but it is, I dare say, nefarious. Oh, thank you. Denise Kafenju, is that how to put it? Kafenju? Is that, oh, that's a hibiscus flower. Where are you from? You look so good. Thank you so much. Your most camera angle, lighting, and the makeup. Mrs. Tabby, 1963. Debbie Doctor, hey, hello there from across the pond. Hope you can visit the beautiful country real soon. Lisa Habedank writes, my chickens are also starting to slowly increase production. They were also molting. Hopefully I'll be able to stop buying as many. We have not bought eggs since August of 2019, I think. We're getting close though. Romania, Denise, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name. I like to be respectful of people's names because people butcher my husband's a lot. He's from Colombia, South America, and there's not really an American or English equivalent for his middle name, which is what he goes by. And sometimes people, when they hear an accent, they go hysterically deaf. Michelle V writes, I'm waiting 30 minutes when I think I may be still hungry. Helps me. You know, we can wait for 30 minutes. You're not going to fall out. If you're hypoglycemic, which is rare, then you know this about yourself. And hypoglycemia is no joke. But no one's going to, this is a different experience when you're a fat burner than when you're a sugar burner, when your brain is telling you. Plus, it is an emergency. If you're depleted of glucose, your brain is trying to run, 25, 30% of the energy expended in our bodies is from our brain, and it's keeping the lights on, making sure we breathe and pump blood and our nerves are going. When you're a fat burner, it's not an emergency. We all just need to chill and worry that hunger, when you're a fat burner, is it's not an emergency. It'll be okay. Mrs. Tabby, 1963. I get my eggs from a local cattery. Not cat eggs. They have hens and ducks. Cat eggs, that would be funny. Can you milk a cat? That's a line from Meet the Parents. Debbie Doctor, Dr. Rob Sives just did a YouTube video on how our bodies need fat. They do. It's just not a question. This is not even a question anymore. It's settled science. What we don't need is to pile on added fat. Okay? Oily coffee. Throwing MCT oil on everything. On the surface, MCT oil, medium chain triglyceride, sounds great because a medium chain fat can't be stored. So it has to be burned. That sounds, oh, good, I can have all the fat and it can't be stored. What does that mean then? It can't be stored. It has to be burned. It has to be burned first. So if you're drinking MCT oil and you're burning fat, it's going to use that first. No, you want to burn the fat on your bum. That is a line from Meet the Parents. Because one of the characters says, you can milk anything with nipples. And Robert De Niro's character says, oh, really? My cat has nipples. Can you milk a cat? Heather, hey, Heather. I am carnivore and eat one meal a day. My hunger meter is broken. I'm never hungry. I eat for fuel. That's nirvana. I eat for fuel. So this comes back to the mental, right? I have to eat or else I'm going to fall out now. And habit. I don't look at the clock when I decide if I'm going to eat. My body's it doesn't reboot to zero every night at midnight. My body is different days. It feels different. My activity level is different. My mood is different. The moon is in a different phase. And I really do believe that has something to do with things. So, Princess Ninja and Keto, $2. You're very kind. When type 2 felt hypo at 80, now 60 after 16 hours fasted. So what she's saying is, when she was a type 2 diabetic, she felt hypoglycemic, which is low blood sugar, if her sugar was at about 80. Now, she can register 60 after just not eating until she's hungry, and it's not hypoglycemic. Now, I have experienced very strong hypoglycemia before. I learned a personal lesson about something, and it wasn't about the ketogenic protocol. It was something else, and it frightened me, and it was deadly. I mean, my dog Jack. Can you see Jack? Where is Jack? See Jack? Jack saved my life. He'd only been in our house 2 days, and that dog saved my life because I was about this far from going into a diabetic coma. Anyway, or hypoglycemia. Anyway. Our bodies are different when we're fat burner. My average blood sugar is probably 70. I don't take it every day. My average ketones are measured by blood are probably 2.6. Sometimes they're 5.4. Sometimes they're 1.9. It just depends. Yes, our bodies know what to do if we will just get out of the way. That's another thing. Mental change. We have to quit trying to game the system as far as our bodies are concerned. Do we have to watch YouTube channels about how to breathe? No. We breathe. Do we have to watch YouTube channels about when to decide that we need to go to the ladies' or the gents' room to do our business? No, your body kind of tells you. But somehow we have turned over decision-making about something as basic as fueling ourselves to everybody else. And it's like we're imbeciles. I don't know. Should I eat now? What time is it? I don't know. And I'm not trying to be insulting. This is just kind of the collective thing that has happened. My advice, step away from the YouTube channels, including this one, if you don't need it. But you don't need to learn how to make fake versions of the foods that got you fat in the first place or screwed up your blood sugar. Food should not be the focus of our lives. It is no longer the focus of my life. The ketogenic protocol is not even the focus of my life. It is simply the way I navigate regarding food. Obviously, talking about it is a focus of my life. But if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't be thinking about it. But I love doing this. Why? Because I believed for 30 years that I was a slob, a failure, successful in every other part of my life, but I couldn't get in front of my weight, it seemed. I felt like I didn't deserve the wonderful children I have. I was embarrassed for my husband to go out in public with him. And one woman actually asked me, your husband's very attractive and he's very athletic. Yes, yes, yes. How does he feel about being married to someone like you? I think I've shared with Michelle what my response was, but I won't say it in a public channel. But I believe this, and I believe many other people have believed this, that you don't deserve a promotion, a raise, respect. You don't deserve cute clothes. You start removing yourself from your own life. I did that. And I didn't feel well. So I'm doing this because I know that there are other people. I'm like everyone. I am not a special person. I am every person, male or female, 25 years old, 85 years old. I'm absolutely like everybody else. Other than the details of my story are different, but the main things can be quite the same. I told myself for years that I was not stronger than a cookie. And I just like cookie, the word cookie. I wasn't going to say I'm stronger than a tortilla chip because that's not poetic. But I told myself I can't go the rest of my life without eating tortilla chips. Well, why? Cancer 3 times, married for over 40 years, raising children, a challenge on the best day. And I'm going to tell myself that I can't, that a cookie is stronger than I am? No, not. But I told myself, which is where the mental part comes in. Whew. Peg Yerger, people are so very rude. Hard to understand why someone would say such a thing. I did have a great comeback. I just can't share it. It was great. Maybe if we have a cruise or a get-together, we go to Dr. Westman's keto retreat, which is not on the books right now in Beaufort, North Carolina, but it will happen again. Or maybe I'll have a party here. I'll tell you what I said to her. I may not be a lot of things, but I am quick-witted. Michelle V. So when you do consume alcohol, it has nothing to do with fueling your body. It's for enjoyment. So saying food is only for fuel is a big oversimplification, but I get the argument. Correct. Karen Elizabeth, hey Karen, writes, being hypoglycemic, I do struggle. Stepped away for a while, did some experimenting, needed to make an adjustment and doing better. Yes, we have to know our own bodies. Okay, so Daryl Lynn writes, I let other people's opinions of my fat keep me from swimming, and I love the water. See? Yes, that's what we do. I mean, even when we're trying to do something good for ourselves, go to the gym and we will be able to go back to the gym. You don't go because you think everyone's looking at, you are so fat. Who do you think you're kidding? You're going to break the elliptical machine. Hey, Trish, meet up at Wine Styles soon. I was just speaking with my lovely mate about that. He and I agreed because I thought I'm going to start them up again a little bit early. A little bit early, but I will. I will. Princess Ninja and Keto. Yes, I want to go to the Westman retreat. And as I said, and that's where you'll be able to see it on other places. But I'm going to put upcoming events on my blog. So just go to my schedule. I miss floating, writes Miss Tabby, 1963. Yeah, I used to float really easily because fat floats. When I've gone to swimming, and I did that for a while, because I had the year of the triathlon when I was fat. Swimming was the easiest part. Nope, not my husband. Trish, my husband's flying today. You'll like to know that. And always like to make sure. I've been following him on my flight. I think he's landed now, probably. He's landed. Yay! Or for flight. Hey, look at that. Cowfish Pro. Okay, you're going to have to explain that. Hey, Teresa Yu here. Good to see you. Teresa Yu is a patron, and she never leaves me without a snippet topic on the spreadsheet. And she's an educator and writer. And so her suggestions are always beautifully phrased and grammatically correct. Michelle writes, I am in no way saying don't drink alcohol. LOL. I had a half a bottle of champagne on Wednesday night celebrating. Yes. Keep it simple, the way with keto. Brianna Novak, removing myself from my own life. I did that, she writes. Someday I have to apologize to my son who was a jock. I was afraid to go to his sports games because his teammates made fun of me. He never knew. My son was excelled at Premier Soccer. If his teammates made fun of me, they did it. The fields are so large, I never would have heard it. But I would avoid going because standing all day on the sideline was difficult, 100 pounds heavier. And there was no way I was going to I was going to sit in a chair. The folding chairs, even the ones with the canvas, because my fear was I would just start to sink into the ground or break the chair. Trish Newbert, helicopter. Trish is a helicopter pilot. I'm going to wrap up now. Please, if you're interested in these little journals, it's cheaper at Amazon and you'll get it faster. It's a little bit more expensive at my blog, but it's spiral and some people requested that. Calendars are gone when they're gone. look at the events and you'll know when there's going to be a YouTube live. Wednesday One Day with Amy. The Durham Support Group meetings are registered events, but they're free, but the spaces are limited. So Dr. Westman, I guess we're going to continue doing those virtually for a little while longer. Michelle doesn't miss a trick. Casey, your screensaver is Antelope Canyon in Arizona. Been there, a must see. She misses nothing. Brenda writes, I just ate some pepperonis and mozzarella, no crust, had a taste for some pizza, and now the craving is gone. I stayed keto. We can do this. We can do, if I can do this, y'all, you can do this. Please believe me when I say that. It's not a come on. I was morbidly obese for 30 years. 30. Had given up on losing weight. Just didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. All right, friends. Thanks a lot. Thanks to the patrons. Thanks to people who have joined. And for the super chats, thank you for allowing me to be part of your Saturday. I'll see you next time. God willing, and the creek don't rise.